said in your life when you've had the biggest successes, it's when you focus the most. And when your focus has waned, so has your success.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wrote that in the one thing because it's true. And everyone gets the wandering eye for a second. All you have to do is go back and ask yourself, fundamentally, what's my goal?
So
when you do that, then the second question is, what's the fastest path to get there? And by the way, as team leaders and owners of market centers, we have to be real clear on this, because every day we have uninformed individuals who, instead of reading or studying at the feet of giants that have lived before them, they're talking to the latest salesperson who has a gimmick or a dollar to give them. And you look up and you go, oh my gosh, you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. You don't understand the secret to life is focusing on what matters and pouring yourself into that. And yes, you're going to be tempted. You're going to be tempted about trying to do new things and different things. But the road to mastery is paved with commitment.
I curled up over the weekend. We're working on a new launch course. I'm really excited about it. If you're launching a market center, never a better time to do it. And you're going to have a whole new set of materials to go do that with, thanks to Wendy and John, who are keeping this front and center, which is awesome. And I was going through your original launch courses from the 80s. And
was I around then?
Yeah. In it, you say that the goal of the real estate company is to make a profit.
Yes, of course.
And that if you're not, it's because you have ineffective ownership.
Okay.
And then you lay out the premise that ineffective ownership really just means focusing on the wrong things and not being appropriate in the moment. As we come into the year of the appointment, why have we decided to focus all of our energy on the number of appointments that we set?
Because it's the singular thing that matters most, right? It's either did I get enough appointments or am I converting those appointments at a reasonable percentage? The thing in common with every conversation is the appointment. How many people do I have to talk to in order to get the number of appointments that I need, that when I visit with them, without any extraneous pressure, X% decide to go into business with me? I mean, this gets back to my early days. You know, they made me the vice president of a large real estate company, man, when I was 25 years old. Why would they do that? Well, they did it because I understood lead gen. But I'm not gregarious, I'm not social. So I would go and was a teacher in the real estate schools, and I was very popular. And but what I discovered was for every 20 people I taught, someone came up out of the audience and asked for my help. So then I realized the only thing between me and all the goals that I've set for myself is how many people I teach. So then I worked at becoming so popular in the schools that the schools allowed me to pick and choose when I got to speak. So that I could go in and I didn't have to teach all day. I could come in and say, I'll give you an hour or 2 hours, right? And I had a standard line because they wouldn't let you recruit. So I had a standard line, and that is somewhere during the class I would say, I've really enjoyed our time today. You know, I have an article on this subject, but I forgot to bring it. So I'm going to pass around a pad, and if you'd like me to mail it to you, just give me your phone number and your mailing address, and I'll get it to you. And then, of course, I never mailed anything. I just went back to my office, and I would just call you and say, "Hi, Jason, it's Gary. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. Listen, I'm sorry we didn't get to visit in the class. I saw that you checked the box that you wanted me to send you this article, and I started thinking, you know, you haven't been to our offices and see how we do business. So I wanted to offer you the opportunity to just come by and pick it up, and I'll show you how we do business."
And they came.
Yeah. Well, some didn't and some did. And those that came, I had a conversion. So I got these appointments, and then I just converted X% of those into people I did business with. And it was just a math formula. That's all it was. That's all it was.
Let's unpack the math formula, because what you're saying is spot on, and it's incredibly simple. So on the screen right now, let's put up the slides so that the world can see. Now, in the book that you have these all on single pages, so they're not quite broken up this way. And we're not going to go through ad nauseum.
Okay, let's ad nauseum.
But I want to not do that.
Okay, let's don't do that.
But let's cover from 7,000 feet.
Let's cover from 7,000 feet, Jason.
The 4 recruiting philosophies.
Okay.
This came out of a course book of yours from many moons ago.
A long time ago.
What was the idea? What's the big idea here?
Well, to give yourself a reason for why you'd even be talking to them.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah. So the first one, like need fulfillment selling philosophy, was simply the getting to know you and trying to understand what your needs are.
Today we call it a needs analysis.
Yeah. So what are your biggest challenges? What are your biggest issues? Tell me about your business. So my way of recruiting, it's hard to teach it because I didn't have presentation. I had questions.
That serves you very well today.
Sure, of course. Well, the person who asks the most questions always wins. So I literally would sit down and say, Jason, tell me about yourself, right? Yeah. And if I could get you into that conversation, here we go. Because as you're talking to me, I'm over here thinking, so are there any needs that I could fulfill that you have? Is there value that I could bring that you currently don't have? If that makes sense, right?
Yes.
And then I practiced the law of numbers. What I recognized was I don't need you to say yes. Because if I talk to enough, I'll hit my number.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20.
Well, that was, sorry, when I got in real estate, the thing that concerned me at first was this issue of I'm going to sell people something. I'm a sales person, right?
I kind of get it. When you start, that's what you think.
It's what you naively and uninformedly think.
As a former HGTV star, I can tell you that if you watch enough of it, that's why you think that.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I get that totally. Yeah. So I looked up and I'm going, I really hate that. I'm uncomfortable selling you stuff. I don't want to sit down and say, here's a Ginsu knife set of 9. Let me walk you through why the blades are better than the other blades.
Sham wow.
Yeah. I just didn't want to do that. And I actually stumbled into a closet one night at the real estate office I was in, and it had a VCR, and it had a tape from a guy named Tom Hopkins in it.
He's good.
Well, it was the Law of Numbers tape. And Tom was very famous for this because his pitch to you was...
I can just imagine you. It's after hours. You pull this thing out. You watch it alone?
10, 11 o'clock at night. There's no one in the building. I'm 22 years old, and I'm alone. And I go in the closet, and I'm watching this video. And it changed my life because his argument was, at worst, for every 100 people you talk to, someone will eventually do business with you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 100, someone will do business with you. Whether today or in the future, you've now banked dollars.
Man, that's Gina Rant on the podcast. Same idea.
You've now banked it. It's banked. Now just stay in contact with them, do your touch programs, and eventually, right? So you look up and you go, well, then that's real simple. In order to hit my financial goals, I need to talk to X amount of people so that X% of that will agree to do business with me sometime in the future.
Yes.
Which, by the way, was the last one, the either or philosophy. And that is, you're either the company I'm going to join or the company that I would join if I ever left. Right? And you become a referral agent for me. Mm-hmm. Because you send people to me because you, even though you love your company or you get what you need from it, you recognize that I do certain things that actually solves issues for real estate agents, and you would highly recommend they come hang out with me rather than your own manager. And that would happen all the time. And I was fine with that. I loved having agents in other companies who loved me and I loved them. And we're not going to be in business together, but they're going to send me referrals.
I used to have a company.
Come on,
their
man,
line was,
this is fun.
They say,
this is fun.
It's fun. They would say, we don't take new agents. Go over to Jason, and when you get trained up, come back.
Yeah.
But they didn't leave.
Well, the joke on them was they weren't leaving you.
Right.
Yeah, they weren't bouncing back. So, these philosophies allowed me to wake up in the morning looking for needs, looking for value, understanding that the law of numbers are applying, and at the very least, they're going to become a friend or a referral person who respects me enough that if they saw someone who was thinking of getting in real estate, that they might think of referring to me.
I love it. By the way, in the booklet you have, we unpack these in detail. So now we get into the 8 recruiting sources. By the way, formerly known as the 12 recruiting sources, the 7 recruiting sources, the 4 recruiting sources, and the Dirty Dozen. There's 8, and I know what people are going to say, but there's 9 listed here.
Yeah, well.
You got to have a system for all of them.
Yeah, that's right.
That's kind of the key.
Yeah, that's right.
So this hasn't changed over I got news for you. Social media has come in, but we used to run ads in newspapers. Now we run them online.
Yeah, the most important things in there for me were number 4 and 5. So what really mattered the most was I carried a box with me, cardboard box, right? And in it, I had folders of articles. So as I go about my reading, and like we send passages and quotes to each other, right?
Yep, all the time.
Well, back in the day, instead of I didn't have smartphones or whatever, things like that. So I'd go to the copier and I'd make 10 copies of that quote or that story.
Well, that came out of your debate training. The person with the best Rolodex of information always wins.
Always. The person with the best information always wins. That's 100%. You didn't have to be the best debater. You had to have the best access to information when you needed it. And you could put your hand on it and say, well, actually, it's this. So I had a box, and it was all these articles on, you might even think they were mundane, but they were timely information about topics that would regularly come up in conversations with real estate agents. And I would just pull out the article and say, well, you might read this. What's important is this or whatever. And by the way, I would also carry a box of books, right? And I would buy.
When I was a team leader, the idea was that you got 100 MREA books delivered every month. We wrapped them in wrapping paper, put a bow on them, and your life was, how quickly can I hand out this box?
Yeah, we eventually wrote books that we could give away. Back again in the 80s, I hadn't written any books, but I carried the book, and I said, well, have you ever read this book? No. Right. And if I didn't have a copy, and I say, well, have you ever read that book? And you say, no, whatever. Say, you know what? Give me your mailing address. I'm going to send it to you with the promise that after you read it, I want to have a cup of coffee with you. Standard. Come on, man.
It still works today.
It still works today. Just give the book and say, I only ask one thing, and that is when you've read it, let's have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea in my case, and let's talk about it.
So these are the tools.
Endless conversations. You can have endless conversations when you do that. The second was my training calendar. And the reason that mattered was because everyone had challenges, problems, value issues. And so what I needed was a place to stick them.
Yeah, your arena.
Yeah, not, hey, if I ever have a class on that subject, do you think you might, could I call you back and invite you to it? Come on, what are you doing? That's stupid. No. These are my play date. This is my play date calendars. Let's pick a play date now.
Yeah.
I've got it here. The class is coming out here, 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 and here. By the way,
well, you didn't outsource the calendar. You didn't hire someone and say it's your job to be the voice in their head. You wanted to live in the training room.
Of course. Well, I wanted to control the calendar. It was my calendar. I created it to be a problem-solving calendar, meaning it was nothing but full of problems that people had, so that when we're visiting, I knew I would have a solution that you could participate in.
I think there's this idea that when markets shift, people take a flight to safety, they call it. And I don't actually think that's the case. I think when markets shift, people look for whoever can solve their specific problems.
Sure, of course.
And that's why when the market shifted in 2008 and the book Shift came out, and we were teaching like crazy the solutions and strategies to thrive, they were standing room only. Everybody looks up and says, who can solve my problem today? You drew it in SPL. You said, I wake up with a need. Then somebody steps in to solve it. That's called leadership. And if that doesn't happen, I start looking for someone new to hang out with.
Sure. So I just showed up as a problem solver. I mean, not the provider of information and solutions. Right? Mm-hmm. So I needed my articles, I needed my books, I needed my calendar, because embedded in all of that was an invitation to something.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I if you say no, that's fine. You're on the calendar. I'm gonna circle, right?
Sure.
And send you an article, or I'm gonna circle a calendar date and say, hey, we're teaching this, blah, 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 blah. I used to back in the day have my own this was before podcasts or whatever, but I used to do my own, I had my own little recording studio in my office.
Like tapes? You're making tapes?
Yeah, so it was called Sales Talk.
Mixtapes. Everyone remembers, don't pretend you don't.
Yep. And, it was cassettes. And so I had an engineer come in and just run the booth for me. And I would pick a topic and I would run on it for 20 or 30 minutes. and then it's a wrap. And he'd come back and hand me several hundred copies of my audio cassette. And I just went out to the market and handed out the cassette.
You were playing the attention economy before anyone else was, if that's the case.
Sure, 100%. I was soaking up the oxygen around information. No question about that.
You and Master P, it's perfect. So these are the tools that you have. You then have the sources.
Yeah.
So you pick your tools, then you look up and you say, now where am I going to go find the people to talk to?
You know, it's really funny. You and I share an enjoyment of fly fishing.
Yes.
There's a fundamental rule of fly fishing for trout.
Okay.
You have to put the fly where the fish is.
No wonder I'm not catching anything.
Right. Trout are lazy. So you just, if they're over here and you throw in a fly over there,
They're not going?
they're not going.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to have to go put it there. Right. And what makes a great guide is a guide who can read the water and give you a good estimate of where the fish are probably holding up.
Our buddy's a good guide.
Yes, our friend in West Virginia is a really good guy. Yeah,
Because he always says, throw it right there.
Yes.
And then I throw it there and I'm on. But then but I went once without him, I didn't catch anything.
yeah, because you weren't getting it there. Hey, you didn't know where the fish were. You couldn't see it.
That's it.
Yeah. So this is where the fish are.
Schools, prospecting, network, allied resources, opportunity meetings, advertisement. This list hasn't changed much either.
Well, how could it change? It can't change. And if there are no schools, then run your own. Run your own calendar. Market it out to the community.
Yeah, well, that's K-Score. Sure.
Sure. Well, that K-Score would be one way of doing that.
By the way,
I'm just saying that.
For those out there that are saying, wait a second, we're social media friends. That's networking. That's the current version of advertisements. That's the current version of direct mail. Social media encompasses 5 of the 8, if not 7 of the 8, if you do it right.
Yeah, well, you know, when I was asked to go start my first real estate office, it was actually in another city called Round Rock, which is a bedroom community to Austin. And I needed agents that lived in Round Rock. So I went door to door through the subdivision. Yeah. Hi, Jason. It's Gary Kellers with Blank Realty. Hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. No, not at all. Whatever. Well, just take a second. The reason I'm here is that our business is coming to your community, and we need people that can help others buy and sell real estate in their community.
You went door to door looking to make people real estate agents?
Well, of course. Why not? My number one producer came that way.
Hey,
I got the number one agent in the entire Round Rock market the next year from knocking on a door.
I don't know why that blows my mind.
Because she goes, well, how about me? I mean, I'm a school teacher. I've been thinking about that.
They make such good real estate agents.
Her name was Lynn.
We just interviewed Renee Acho for the podcast. Mm-hmm. She's a history school teacher. She now does about $4 million a year in GCI. Wow. In Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Yes. The answer is go find where they are. Just go find them, right? Go have conversations. If you just went out every day for a couple hours and just had conversations with people about real estate, and then ask the question, who do you know who's ever thought about having a terrific career in real estate?
Yeah, that's it. So then you get into making sure that you're recruiting the right people. And we laid out a framework here, relatively simple one that we don't have to wax poetically on, but at the end of the day, this is it.
Yeah. Well, this is the reason why you might talk to them, right? So to get together and just get to know each other. Because I'd call you up and say, hi, Jason, it's Gary Keller's Realty. Hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. No, Jason, I spend a lot of my time trying to get to understand and know the very top real estate agents in the city. And I've never had the privilege of meeting. And I was wondering if you wouldn't be offended if I could just buy you a cup of coffee in the next month and just get to know you a little bit. I may be able to send you business, but I don't know your business to be able to do that.
Simple.
Yeah. The referral call is asking your agents.
Yep.
Which is where Profit Share came from.
Sure. Helping those that help us grow the business should be enjoying the rewards.
Yeah. I looked up after I built my Round Rock office and realized that there was a lineage. The majority of the agents that were in the office were attached to another agent in the office, meaning
Makes
that
sense.
they had said, hey, come talk to our office, or hey, Gary, go call them, or whatever. And that's where profit share and the whole tree idea, that's where it came from. It came from my understanding that the majority of people that were in the business, in the office, had come from others that were in the office. So let's just create a compensation plan to reward them passively for that referral. So, by the way, the Market Center agreed to pay the money. It's already there. We've paid out much money so far?
Over $2 billion.
Well, okay. So there's over $2 billion that already been paid under number 2.
So it works.
It works.
Perfect.
100%, right? We've met and want to follow up, talk about, hey, I just want to vision about career opportunities,
And then, of course, inviting them to things.
Hi, Jason. We have, yes. Yes.
Come to school.
Yeah, well, we by the way, we're having a guest speaker on the subject of wraparound mortgages, and didn't know if you had any interest in understanding that. Or we have the top luxury expert from blank coming to speak to us on blank, and I knew that was something that might interest you, and wanted to give you an invitation. It'd be great.
Even today, we just built a website that has 40 of the top agents in the world giving their advice. Do you want me to shoot you over the address? Which, by the way, that's the Family Reunion website.
Yeah.
So cool. So then we get into literally just being more human more often with more people. That's all this says. This is, tell me about yourself. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Let me show you how we do our thing. And then now let's get in and start digging into the business.
Yeah, let me ask you some questions.
So that's it. I don't want to overcomplicate it at all. We're about to switch gears.
No, the thing is that you have to know the business well enough to feel comfortable having it. The challenge that you have a lot of times is you don't understand the business. You don't understand the 4 models in MREA, for instance. So you don't understand. So if someone wants to talk about economics, you don't know what 30, 30, 40 means. And you don't know why they're at 21%. When they could be at 30%, or they're at 7% because they buy Zillow leads, right?
Which, by the way, if that works for their business, don't make them feel badly about it. That's dumb.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't making it as a negative. I was just pointing out that that's about what it's going to look like.
Well, we're starting to...
But did you know that? Here's my point is, if you're a team leader and you didn't know what I just said, how can you fly the plane?
No, you can't.
You don't understand the numbers. You don't understand the dials. So, by the way, the way you learn is simply by sitting down with top people and saying, so you buy Zillow leads. What's your percent of
That's
net?
how we learn.
That's how you learn.
That's it.
And they go, well, I'm working off of 4%. I'm working off of 11% or whatever. You say, well, that's interesting. Okay. So why is it that? I know in MREA it said 40%.
That's how you interview your way to success.
Well, by the way, what you discover is most real estate agents are building an organization instead of making money. And this is the biggest aha that you have over and over again in this industry. Because I look up at them and say, well, why don't you just go make some money? Because you're spending a lot of time doing all of this when the percentages are very real, right? What we've discovered is after having lived the whole team explosion world, that the agents that are living the best lives, a lot of them are actually solo agents with some leverage.
No question.
And they didn't go out and build big team businesses. They just built cash flow machines.
Well, a lot of them, it's some of the competitors that they look up and all they do is advertise their volume. They're running these giant businesses. But then when you really dig into them, they're not making much money in them.
Not enough.
They're in the business of looking successful.
No, I mean, we always laugh about Richard Stone because...
Because the guy's awesome, because he wakes up, works 126 days a year, knocks on doors, all of it, runs almost an 85% profit business, and is going to make well over $1 million every year. And he sits in the back of the room.
Why don't you just go do that?
Just go do that. All right.
Yeah.
So last slide we're going to look at, and then we're going to switch gears, gang. Here's the deal. You just went through the one-page model on recruiting. We're going to spend the rest of this call talking to experts and doing it. But here's the key. When you get the workbook, you'll go through 6 pages that are going to walk you through these 3 ideas. That the path is in the math. And once you decide that you're going to have a profitable real estate business and that the number of appointments you set is the driver of that, then it's either do the 2 It's the 5% rule, or it's work your math backwards to know how many appointments you need to set.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you need to have enough appointments based on your conversion rate to meet your goals. And that's the long and short of it.
That's it.
All right,
Just go
Gary,
talk to people.
we're going to switch gears.
Okay.
Thank you very, very
You're
much.
saying I'm leaving?
That's what I.
Okay.
Well, I didn't. Not,
I've enjoyed my time.
we've loved having you. By the way, I
Thank you.
wanted to tell you on behalf of
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing what you and your family did.
Well,
I can wake up, and I woke up this morning, and I wake up tomorrow morning, knowing the amount of diligence and time that you spent,
oh yeah.
and knowing that you were putting its agents, its franchise partners, its regions, you were putting everybody first.
That's right.
And your checklist had you at the bottom, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. You're very kind. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm excited. Let's go.
All right, gang, that was Gary Keller.